Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Without any further ado, I'm going to invite my panel to come onto the stage and join me. And as they're coming out, I'm going to read out their names to you, not in the order that they're walking out, by the way, but just to save time. Sitting closest to me is going to be Osama Rizala from VP Brand Marketing E-Commerce Europe for Marriott. Next to Osama, you have Carl Oldsberg, VP International Operations from Choice Hotels. Then Cyril Rank, President, Lodging Partner Service, Expedia Group. Then Terry Scriven, the Head of Hospitality for Google. And then finally, Peter Verhoeven, Managing Director, EMEA Booking.com. And we are here today to talk to you all about distribution strategies and also relevance of brand in what is an evolving online digital landscape, with a lot of implications for the landscape for hotel structure, models, business, and the consumer as well. So I'm going to actually start with Terry from Google. Terry, would you mind sharing with the audience a very quick overview to give us some context as to what this changing landscape actually looks like, and the impact, therefore, on potential distribution strategies for hoteliers?
Absolutely. I'm just going to provide a few key stats just to set the backdrop for the evolution in the landscape. So online travel has grown 11% year on year, and overall, we're seeing research sessions grow by 27%. But what that means in terms of overall, more than 60% are actually starting on a search engine, and more than 80% of people actually use online at some stage in the journey. But yet, only 37% actually use online to book. So the online penetration is only 37%. And of that, the makeup is 25% is OTAs, and 10% is direct to hotel. So it still represents quite a sizable opportunity to drive to that online booking. And what we're seeing as well, overall on average, users use about 28 different sites through that research and planning process. And we're now, based on the move and the massive increase in smartphone penetration, we're seeing us and you, the savvy consumers, researching in micro moments. So 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. The I want to buy moments, the I want to do moments, the I want to read moments, I want to go moments. And in those moments, we're seeing, as a result of smartphone penetration increasing, in the UK now it's 76%, growing from 70%, 71 last year. In Germany, it's a little bit less, so growing from 65% now up to 71% this year. And we check our phones 150 times a day. Many of you probably doing that right now as we speak.
Surely not.
Surely
They're all
not.
focused on you, Terry.
And using our mobile phones are now over 40% of searches happen on a mobile device, and next year we're going to see that over 50%. So quite a massive change to the user behavior just within the last three to 5 years.
Cyril, can I just ask you, there seems to be regional variations, though, doesn't there, in terms of those nations and cultures who are very, very much focused on online activity versus offline. What does that globalization piece look like to you? And also, in a previous conversation that you and I have had, we've discussed the fact that perhaps the pie is actually big enough for all because of the huge growth of travel worldwide. Can you just share a bit of context with us from where you sit?
Yeah, I won't get into a statistics war with you, because it seems like you have a lot, and apparently a lot more than I have. But just taking a step back, if you look at what we heard at the introduction of the conference, travel being an industry that grows faster than GDP. GDP grows around 2%. Travel bookings actually have grown 6% last year, and online travel has grown 11%. So it's a great industry. It's actually contributing to the economy, and we're gaining share of wallet of consumers. Now, the complexity is this increased demand is coming from multiple geographies. So most of the demand is now coming from emerging countries in Asia. It used to come from South America. It's obviously going down a little bit this year. But it's becoming more complex to reach these new sources of demand that create that growth of the travel category versus normal GDP. The other complexity is about half of the consumers tell us that when they search for travel, they used at least 2 devices. So that you have a geographic complexity, and then you have a device complexity. And then if you add the touch points, the multiplicity of touch points that consumers use to interact with travel, it could be Google, it could be Facebook, it could be their smartphone, it could be private sales sites, etc. It could be review sites. So you have a geography complexity, you have a device complexity, and then you have a channel complexity. So it leaves the hotel industry in a state of great opportunity, but great challenges coming with them.
And certainly we know that mobile is very important. We heard previous speakers this afternoon talking about the importance of mobile. And we were reflecting earlier on a decision taken by Google some months ago when the European Commission actually announced that they were going to start an investigation into Google. Google's response was to actually change the algorithm in terms of listings on Google to ensure that mobile friendliness would actually come into play, which then pushed the European Commission, I believe, down onto page 27, which I thought was a little streak of genius on Google's part. But,
better user experience.
But turning to Peter, Terry talked about magic moments, the speed with which decisions are now being made, a little bit here, a little bit there, and really, seeing that customers are doing much more on mobile and just making that decision. You were saying actually that the time frame within which they're making decisions and then taking those travel decisions are
what we see now is that 1 in every 3 bookings is already over. 1 in every 3 bookings is done on mobile, transacted on mobile. But what's also interesting is that 50% of those transactions are done within 48 hours of arrival date. So you see 2 things. You see a shift of the last minute reservation behavior, which probably caters to a different type of customer, which needs different interaction with the platform than the customer that's the planner, which we also see grow in the 6 months out reservations. So we see 2 trends. We see those who really plan for their holidays, for their long stays, for long ahead. That segment is increasing, and at the same time, the window of 48 hours is booking on mobile very fast. So that means there's different customers that have different requirements, different probably also, let's say, hurdles that you have to avoid in the booking process. If you're booking within 48 hours, you're less prone to cancel. So probably the more hurdles you put in payment process, for example, will drive away the customer. So how you drive conversion, how do you capture that client, and how you service him is really different from one experience to the other. So there's a lot of things happening, I think. And the second big movement, I think, is also, if you look at the upper funnel marketing, if you see what's happening between, let's say, TripAdvisor, or, that's also becoming Instant Book. There's a lot of mixed models being invented now, and there's a lot of experimentation in there also, which makes it a very innovative and challenging landscape.
Yep. Osama, may I turn to you? What does all of this mean for a company like Marriott? How is this shaping, this changing, constantly evolving context? How is it shaping your distribution strategy as a company?
It's impacting us significantly. I think one of the things that we talked about is mobile. And mobile to us is the fastest growing direct channel today. Once we transitioned our websites to be responsive in design and with added a bit of personalization and customization from a content point of view, we were able to see significant growth on direct channels through mobile. However, I concur that most of those reservations are today within 48 hours. Therefore, the opportunity to drive additional demand and conversion outside of 48 hours is quite substantial. Therefore, investing in content and optimization and personalization becomes a huge opportunity on the mobile devices. And when you think about markets like Russia, Turkey, and other emerging markets where mobile has far more penetration than desktop, it becomes more evident to us that the investment in mobile is critical to grow direct channels for us.
And Carl, what about the relevance of the brand in this type of landscape? I mean, it seems to me that perhaps brand is becoming more and more valuable in this. There's so much out there, isn't there? It's a really cluttered landscape for the customer to navigate. What does that look like from your perspective?
Right, so as a franchisor, the brand is becoming more important than ever, but in a different way. So there's been an evolution from standing on top of the mountain, screaming out your brand message to create engagement with your brand. I think there was a study that came out of Harvard where they looked at 6,000 M&As over a period of 10 years, where the value of the brand compared to the overall enterprise value has gone from 20 to 10, and the customer relationship has gone the other way from 10 to 20. So the engagement with the brand is becoming a lot more important than it used to be.
Let's turn to relationships. Osama, I'm looking at you. I think we'll start with the hoteliers on this one, because we've talked about evolution of market and what's been happening in the digital landscape. Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the relationship between hotels and OTAs.
So that's a great question. I think as you move forward from a hotel analysis or a hotel type of segmentation or channel mix, we're now moving into this environment where channel mix becomes very, very important in understanding where the demand is coming from and what is the channel profitability. To order for a hotel to be successful in this ever-changing digital environment, you have to understand the cost per channel, the profitability by channel, and what is the optimal channel mix. So therefore, the relationship with the OTAs is becoming more of, are you profitable to me? Do we have the right strategy? Are you bringing the right customer in? And therefore, by applying certain tactics and working with the OTAs, you'll be able to kind of drive more profits by channel. And that's the key, that's the secret in today's world, and how do you work with the OTAs. Not so much about war with the OTAs, but it's more about how do we work with them to drive profitable business to the hotels.
Carl?
Yeah, and I would agree with your comment, Osama, that we need to, it used to be a battle, and there's still a certain element of that, but we need to look at the entire pie, and the revenue management has been there for a while. I think we all need to shift into profit management and look at the profitability of the entire business, and that's the challenge today.
Peter, you were telling me earlier that Booking.com is now 80% of Priceline, which I found to be really surprising, since Priceline actually started out as Priceline.com. So change within your organization, and also the position that you play as a company, as Priceline and Booking.com in terms of market coverage worldwide, gives you a strong position when it comes to negotiation with hotels. So how do you view the relationship and the way it's evolving between OTAs and hotels from where you sit?
Well, first of all, it's been very successful, because I think the choice to work with Booking.com is a choice of every operator, and it's been growing. So in some shape or form, we've been able to demonstrate to those 850,000 properties that we're a net ROI positive channel. I choose to believe that entrepreneurs make a choice for it should be ROI positive, otherwise I'll use a different channel. So I think that's the basis. But on the fringes, on the outside of that parameter, there have been discussions, and there have been discussions about competition and how do we increase competition between the likes of us, and how do we make that a better place for everybody. I think we found some common ground within the EU, and we've made some commitments on that, which regard pricing parity, which regards a lot of things that we've eased up on, let's say. And I think at a European level, we're looking for some consensual framework to at least get along with it. But to be honest, in the aggregate, if you look at 90% of the business, it's growing, and it's helping properties deliver more value. And that's, of course, our biggest threat is ourselves, right? If we don't innovate, if you close us, if a hotel closes us, we don't have any business. We have people and servers and our intelligence. And we've been a startup for 20 years now, so we know a lot about the internet, right? But that's all we have. So I think there's a lot of debate, and there will continue to be debate about, who does what, how is it done. We just hope it will be regulated at a European level. It makes it easier for all of us, I think. And secondly, it drives us to innovate also. So in that sense, healthy.
I mean, there's been a lot of comments, and I must admit, in the United Kingdom, I'm one of those who are most vocal about the fact that rate parity, for example, should be banned in the United Kingdom, as it is deemed to be illegal in France and here in Germany, and also other areas of activity between OTAs and hotels. Our organization certainly has taken a very strong view in the United Kingdom. And we look at it very much from the perspective of hotels, but I'm very interested, Cyril, from a perspective of Expedia, as Peter was saying, you also have to continue to innovate. Relationship is very important to your business. How do you manage that where there is friction in the relationship? What are you doing to actually address that and to improve relations with hotels?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, we can't, to what Peter was saying, we can't exist without hotel partners. So we have to remove friction. But I would take it from a slightly different point of view. When we heard this morning the emergence of all these technology trends, this great opportunity to grow travel, etc. If we're in an investment conference, and I'm thinking, as investors, I would be quite worried that I have to look at all these opportunities and invest in 50 different parallel opportunities to know which one is going to work for me. So when I look at our role in the industry, I take it as we're the ones that invest the most in technology. We're the ones whose sole job is to follow these technology trends, test and learn, and pick the ones that are meaningful and work for the industry. So I see ourselves as evolving from only a distribution partner to a real enabler of the industry through which hotel partners can actually test all these new technologies and then pick up their own battles. I see us more as becoming a service provider to the industry than only a distributor.
Terry, I'm really curious. I mean, to me it seems that when it comes to the relationship between OTAs and the hotels, it seems that the independent has a very difficult time in all of this. I mean, I cannot see how the independent can get visibility on Google, for example, unless they are doing business with one of your very key customers, and you're sitting in between two very important customers of Google. So how can a hotel company compete if they do not have the size and the clout of a Marriott, for example, or a Choice? What future, what hope do they have? Are we looking at a future where there's going to be continued consolidation of brands to be able to compete with these online giants?
It's a very good question. I mean, definitely, I think the OTAs have helped the independent become found over the last 10 years and make it easier. It becomes a larger share of their overall distribution. Some of them have said, almost 80% of their distribution in a small independent goes through, Booking.com. In some cases, and they also provide services to make it easier. But yes, it is increasingly competitive and harder to be found. And thinking through search, there are only limited spots that are now being showcased by the OTAs and some of the larger chains. So I think it's really important that that your organic or your natural search is absolutely perfect, in terms of your business listing, and your location is there so you can be found through maps and through organic. I know we're working with a number of your partners on that case, both for the restaurant side and the independents. But that's really important. So from a natural search and organic search perspective, I'd see that you can win. And also in terms of targeting your audience, your high-valued audience, you can absolutely win in comparison, because you own that customer data, and you can go after and bid up on those that are high-valued users or that look like those high-valued, future guests.
But it's very difficult, isn't it, for hoteliers to actually access some data? I mean, the data that hoteliers actually get for themselves, perhaps, but there's a lot of data out there that seems to be out of reach to the hoteliers. Osama?
Totally agree. We talked about this earlier, that there is a serious gap of knowledge at a hotel level of how to use data, how to use your first-party data, which is your own data, to analyze where the traffic is coming from, what that customer is doing on the site itself, to kind of start getting some basic insights on how you retarget that consumer based on their behavior. So, that gap is significant. And when you think about hotel structures today, and how do we hire general managers or sales organization or marketing organization, we need to start seriously thinking about the skill set of those individuals that are running the hotels, whether independent or branded, that are needed to be able to interpret the data, understand how to navigate through the OTAs and through Google, and make the right decisions. So it is a gap, and I think it's, as an industry, we have to kind of tackle that going forward.
And Carl, where are you looking to source this talent, this know-how into your business? And what role do they play in your distribution strategy and your brand development strategy?
So I think that's the single most important in this development, is to find the right talent. And that's, to your earlier point, the independents, they don't have that talent and that skill set that's required in today's landscape, which we in Choice definitely see as an opportunity. But I would argue that to your commentary with 80% from the OTAs, yes, that is the solution in the beginning if you don't have the skill set. But I'm not sure if I would be feeling good about that position being a hotelier.
Yeah, giving it up.
Can I maybe comment on it? Because when I hear that, you're almost sorry for the independent hotel. The poor guy has no way of succeeding. I've seen independent hotels grow their business so rapidly by using platforms such as ours. And if 10 years ago you would have had no brand, you would have started as an independent. Before you were positive on cash flow, it would take you 3 to 4 years to build anything with flyers and bringing them to trade shows. Today you can be online, you can be cash positive relatively rapidly, allowing you to either build your own brand or adhere to a franchisor that helps you build your own direct business. So I think, when you look at cash flow, and I think this conference is interested in that, if you are an independent, you can really generate cash flow positive results rapidly, scale up your own brand, or start a new brand. We've seen companies start a new brand with a new business model, completely leaning into the online industry and making heaps of money. So I think it's like any platform. There's people that optimize, use it, and they, everybody has a different strategy on that, and that's fine. There's going to be people that experiment in this way and are successful in this way. I think the key is experiment with what's good for your property. Every property has a different story to tell. Some are city center, some are surrounded by X brands, some are not surrounded by X brands. All these choices matter to investors. But in the end, experiment and try out stuff. And independence can be hugely successful.
I mean, in the United Kingdom, we're seeing a number of SMEs now experimenting with Airbnb, saying that Airbnb only charges 4% commission. So, why do I have to do business with one of the others when I can actually do all of my business through this platform over here, and the commission rates are going to help me to be able to improve my profitability. Cyril, how does an OTA begin to think and strategize of a future where there are new disruptors, new platforms, new offers for hotels to consider?
Well, a couple of things. First, I want to come back on the previous point and have a little bit of fun. So I would argue that Google's role is to create competition between all of us to make more money. So there's actually a play where we can help our chain partners and independent, as Peter said, to optimize their marketing spend going through our channels or others, because we have much more information, much more data on customer demand if you combine all our brands than a chain on its own or even an independent can have. So I think we can actually have a healthy competition to keep some money in the industry. That being said, so on Airbnb, look, we just bought HomeAway, so that was kind of our answer. And now HomeAway is going to have its time to give Airbnb a run for their money. I think
will they charge similar commission rates to Airbnb, to hotels,
so
around
HomeAway
4%?
is shifting model. They're shifting model to online bookable and to a very competitive supply commission, and then a traveler fee, which is a similar model to what Airbnb is using. So they're going to go head on with Airbnb. So let's see what happens. I think there's just from a positioning standpoint, though, when you look at brands that are really positioning themselves as sharing economy, like Airbnb, like HomeAway, the integration of hotel supply is something that they really need to think about, because it kind of blurs their message also, and it's not that easy to tell customers that you're the sharing economy and I'm going to welcome you on my couch and then have a 1,000 room Marriott hotel next to it. So I don't know how it's going to shape up, but it's not a given that everybody's going to be distributed by Airbnb.
Terry, we have a couple more minutes to focus on what the future landscape looks like. I mean, what are you seeing as Google? We're talking, and there's been a lot of talk already thus far about Airbnb, but as Cyril has said, now companies are actually diversifying. They're buying into these sharing accommodation platforms. What else are you seeing that you can help to advise us on what we should be looking out for? What is Google doing? Talk to us about Google's strategy.
Well, we're continuing to make the overall user journey or to adhere to the constant changes in the savvy consumer, and make that process to find your hotel stay that much more easy. So making it more of a frictionless experience, shorten the steps to booking. We are no longer 10 blue links anymore, and it's very much around providing answers instead of just suggestions or instead of just links. So we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to evolve the overall experience to make it, shorter steps, and make those qualified leads, much more qualified. Ultimately, at the end of the day, drive more traffic to our partner sites. So we'll see that continue to evolve. And I think the importance of content in that is really big. So understanding how the overall user journey looks throughout the funnel, even from when they're being inspired, when they're, having intent to purchase, and then when they're actually researching to plan. That's now merging. So the marketing and sales in hoteliers is merging. So I think it makes it that much more difficult for, a large chain where there are various silos that exist between, e-commerce team and the brand marketing team and the revenue management team, that those all need to be interlinked to ensure that price is dynamic and that content is linked, throughout every stage of the consumer journey. And we'll see much more data-driven targeting. I'm doing that with partners on an ongoing basis, is making it data-driven, taking the audience data and helping them use it better, helping them to improve their targeting and make profit. It's all about profitable channels.
So Google is positioning themselves as providing these services, the know-how, the understanding how to get more out of Google Analytics, understanding how to get more out of meta search.
Yep.
We hear that Expedia are doing the same thing in this space. Peter, what about Booking? How are you positioning Booking.com in this what's becoming competitive landscape for alternative, supportive offers to help to support growth to the bottom line of hotels?
Yeah, well, first, I think on the, let's say, the breadth of the offer and the inventory and the variety you have there is key. So we now have 860,000 properties, and I think 390,000 are, are homes or vacation rental homes or residencies. So there's a lot in there to have offer, of course. I think if you look at what was being said before on, being able to offer a competitive model. Again, if you mention, Airbnb is a great channel for some customers, some partners, they experiment with it. Fantastic. Don't look at commissions, look at net ROI. That's how we look at them, by the way. We are a big customer here, sitting here. And do we ever, we always look at that relationship very healthy. As long as the net ROI on that investment is healthy, we continue to give money to Google. And we'll continue to do that. So I think, in that sense, everybody should look at, as a partner, as an investor, what makes sense in that relationship. Do I get net ROIs of it that are positive? We broaden our offer. We try to, of course, seamlessly create an experience that is unbeatable. And that sounds easy, but to be relevant on 221 screens, it's really hard. It's really hard work. 10,000 people work on that. And we've been doing it for 20 years. So to be relevant on there on all those screens is our main mission, to keep on being recognized for that. Convenience, choice, and price. And I think what's really important in the triangle also is that the experience of the guest becomes even more pivotal. Now, the truth is the experience is held by all the hoteliers in the property, but we can add value to that. We start experimenting in Amsterdam with, for example, tickets for musea, that you can have a QR code that you swipe with your mobile at the spot, so you get a fast track into a museum, etc. So during the stay, there can be much more enriching experiences, and that's where we're also looking at. And for example, the way you search is going to change also. If it's going to be by voice, or if it's going to be by passion. So we launch ourselves, I want to go hiking, not I want to go to London, I want to go hiking in Birmingham, or, So you can really have passion searches, and a different way of searching is what we're constantly going to experiment with also, because it's going to go on. If you look at kids today, they don't type anymore, they just talk to their device.
That's true.
So staying on the forefront of that is I think, a big challenge, and as was said before, as a hotel operator or as an investor, you have the choice to do it either yourself or to have partners help you do that. I know one thing, if you increase your guest experience from a rating from 8 to 9, that's free conversion, that's on the table. Investing in the experience during the stay and having a great review is hugely important and has a high return on investment, I think, for everybody.
So, Osama, in this really fast-moving, evolving landscape where by the time technology or an online distributor is prevalent and on the shelf, it's almost a question to ask as to whether it's already out of date. And investing in a future distribution strategy that's going to be bulletproof and really get you far seems to be increasingly challenging. So what advice would you have for this audience if there was just one bit of advice from where you sit in Marriott, one learning that you would share, what would that be?
I would say, again, understanding your channel mix, understanding the profitability by channel, have a clear and precise preferred direct strategy. Invest in your own channels. You have to invest in your own channels. You have to invest in the content in those channels. We all know, but that as part of the customer journey, they land on our hotel websites. So therefore, the content, the imagery, the personalization level needs to match what that customer behavior is, so you can drive that conversion. So investing in your own channels is far and foremost the most important message today to everyone in this room. But also, the other one that I want to pick up on is customer experience is really paramount. Driving that customer reviews and experience drives preferential or preference to your hotel from consumer reviews and ultimately conversion, whether on your site or other sites. Consumers today look at peer-to-peer recommendations across multiple channels, and if you are not able to improve that customer experience score, that means it will hurt your conversion. So investment in your own channel, making sure that your hotel site is responsive in design, or what we call omni-channel retail strategy, as well as have a retargeting campaign or a retargeting strategy using your own data, your first-party data.
Carl, any last advice for the audience?
Well, I would say invest in your customer. Back to basic. We own the product. We own most of the experience, and the customer journey as a great vehicle to facilitate that. And then obviously before the arrival and after departure is a great focus. It should be a focus, and that's where it's more a trial and error is important. But I think keeping track of that entire customer journey, make it consistent, and make your customer happy.
It's all about the customer, Cyril.
It is all about the customer.
What do you advise this audience? What should they be doing?
Now everybody agrees, and but it's not a minor point. So when you look at a P&L and investments, categories, investing in guest satisfaction, customer service, etc., is the key, because you get free traffic, you are able to increase your ADR, you're able to have a higher conversion, etc. So there's downstream benefits from good guest satisfaction. And I say for the rest, we heard Vivek from Accor this morning talk about testing a few things and investing a lot of money in his own platforms. I would lean towards picking your battles and outsourcing the rest, because if you look at people who only invest in marketing and technology like us, we invested $3.5 billion in marketing last year to grow the travel category. We invested $750 million in technology. That's a lot of money that we will put at the service of our hotel partners in the future. And then I'd say you pick great direct channels, but don't disperse the investment on too many bets.
Terry, parting thoughts.
Yeah, and I'd say while technology is so incredibly important, you're a hospitality company at the end of the day, and the service that you deliver to your guests is paramount, and utilizing that technology to make that service even better. So making sure you have a solid analytics solution to look at demand overall. So I think demand management is more about what we're talking about today rather than distribution. So linking together, those aspects of your business around revenue management, feeding in, there are tools out there like Snapshot or Tableau, some business intelligence tools that link your website analytics with your STR data, with your your revenue management data, and to provide that tool for asset managers and e-commerce teams to make the right decisions for profitability. So I'd say underlying it all is a strong analytical intelligence, really, to help your decisions.
Peter, you have the final last words?
No, I'd say to give an advice for every property is different. I think experiment is the big one. Try out stuff. You don't know. You have to try stuff. And I think if there's one thing that you see at the big platforms, you know, we make, I think, 1 million room nights reservation every 24 hours. We don't know. We experiment all the time. And the consumer decides. I think for distribution of your property, it's the same. Try out stuff. But make some choices. Make choices on where you want to really invest yourself and where do you want to invest in the guest experience. And, you know, make the choice for yourself what is the highest yield. Anyhow, for us, I think it's our duty to help you as a digital partner, you know, helping you drive that business. And we are under constant pressure to innovate for you, because in the end, you know, if you don't work with us, our business model is not there.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together and give my panel a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you.